Hi, I'm Anne Bowditch. I'm author of The Energy of Anxiety, and I'm covering a series for anxiety relief. Today's the first of the series, which is all about beliefs and what beliefs might be holding you back and why they're so relevant to anxiety. Before we continue, just a reminder to hit the subscribe button and to ding the bell if you want to receive updates as they come out. Back to the video. If your mind was a computer, your beliefs would be your operating system. So you could say that when we're in situations or faced with situations, that we will refer to our own personal operating system, our own belief system on how we perceive each event. So the comparison that I make is when we go to watch a film, not everybody thinks it's a good film. Some people will think it's an amazing film, others think it's okay, others get up halfway through and leave the cinema because they think it was an awful film. And that's based on our internal processing system. And life is the same. We will all view things in a way that reflects our own personal belief system. So that belief system is crucial when it comes to issues such as anxiety and other problems and difficulties that we have in life. And what you believe about yourself, others, and life is extremely relevant to how you function. Each belief is part of your own operating system. And we want positive beliefs if we're going to experience life in a good way. Beliefs of I can do this, I'm awesome, I'm a good person. And the more positive beliefs we have, the better we're going to experience life. And we do start to form beliefs as early as being in the womb. And most of our beliefs are formed before we're 6 or 7 years old. But what I can tell you from working with my clients is we also will form beliefs after this time. I've worked with many clients on issues that may have happened at 10, 11, 15 years old, maybe even later. And those events have been so powerful that they've formed a belief. They still haven't got that life perspective to bring in a different angle on that situation, and they form that negative, unhelpful belief. So I wonder, what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about others? And what do you believe about life? You're probably not familiar with all of your beliefs. It would be really unlikely that you are. But I wonder if you know maybe a few of your main beliefs. What themes do you keep repeating? What situations come up and you're like, oh, yeah, that's happened again. Yeah, I'm just not good enough, or whatever that belief might be. We'll look more into this as time goes on. Here are some example beliefs. A common one that somebody with anxiety will experience is something bad will happen, because that's what anxiety is, isn't it? It's the expectation of something bad happening, and you're trying to put in a way of sorting that out, but in doing so, your mind just sees the bad. Think of those situations when you feel anxious. What do you expect to happen? Your expectation is it's not going to be good. I'm not good enough. Another really common belief for anxiety sufferers. We can all experience this in certain situations. And the world is a dangerous place. Again, quite common for anxiety sufferers, but often anxiety sufferers can also put this one into perspective. There are parts of the world that are dangerous, but actually, if you took it as a whole, most people go about their business quite merrily, quite happily, getting on with it. Nothing major happens. Again, I'm not confident, a very common one for anxiety sufferers. Having said that, I have come across anxiety sufferers who are confident, in areas of life. Flying is dangerous. Now this is a possibly more of a fear related belief, but it can be linked to different issues. It can be linked to a particular incident that may have happened to you when flying, or possibly, as we'll see later, something that you heard. Or it could be linked to another belief you have. For instance, if you're claustrophobic, being on a plane makes you claustrophobic, and then you might link it to feeling that flying is dangerous. And again, a common one for anxiety sufferers: people must think well of me. Sometimes trying to please everybody else is part of what's causing your anxiety. Or that you're anxious, that you're not good enough, you're not doing things well enough for others, or you're just not being a good enough person. And the good news is we were not born with these negative beliefs. We created them for various reasons. There is a logic to your belief system. Even if it doesn't seem logical, there is a logic. But because we weren't born with these beliefs, what I really love about the subconscious mind is that we can help to resolve those negative beliefs so that we do create a more positive belief system. And with a more positive belief system, anxiety can begin to fade away. So how did these beliefs happen? They didn't just ping into your head, did they? A really, really common thing is events that happened that you maybe just didn't perceive go well. In fact, those events might have been pretty good. But if you didn't perceive they went well, then that may have caused you to experience anxiety. And we're going to look at these in more detail. Also, the way people have spoken to you and the things they've said to you. So, for instance, you may have done a maths exam and got 80% and gone home all excited, being so proud of yourself for getting 80% and you were third in the class. And you go home and you tell your mum, and your mum turns to you and says, well, that's disappointing. Your brother was first in the class with 95%. And all of a sudden, everything you thought about that result changed. You suddenly think, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not clever enough. I'm stupid. Who knows what beliefs you might have formed as a result of an experience like that. Also, behaviour and beliefs that we learn from others, especially parents. I say especially parents because those are usually the people that we spend those early years of our lives with, but it could be other people as well. So things like fear of spiders. Very often the reason we develop these fears is we see maybe a parent, mum or a dad, who when they see a spider jumps on the sofa and starts screaming. So we instantly think, oh my God, spiders must be dangerous. Whereas in effect, those spiders are really just terrified of us and wanting to get on with their business. If you look at a spider when it sees a human being, it actually tries to scurry away, it wants to go away from you. But this is fundamental in what forms our beliefs. So what happened to you that formed those negative beliefs? Did you fail an exam? Forget your lines? Maybe you were reading a poem out at school or singing a song on stage and you forgot your lines. And then later in life it causes you to not want to speak up in public in case you fluff that. You don't necessarily automatically remember that school event, but that could be where it came from. Maybe you tripped over, everyone was watching and laughed at you, so now you're really worried about walking through crowds or situations like that. So all of these previous events that we perceived as not being good link in with that belief system, and then that is our operating system. It's what we use and refer to now as we go through life. So our belief system is absolutely fundamental when it comes to anxiety. Traumatic events, and a traumatic event can be anything really. It could be as is the second item on this, being bullied, or it could be something like being in a crash, it could be seeing somebody die, it, it could be any host of things. Being bullied and bullying is absolutely a key one for anxiety sufferers. I'm not saying every anxiety sufferer has been bullied, but many have, and it can definitely be a surefire route to anxiety. What we see and hear on the news absolutely can be linked to anxiety. Again, until we've had the opportunity to form a much wider perspective on life and to see those very extreme incidents in the fact that they are very rare, it can cause us to be fearful. So we hear about these shootings that are happening in strange places like schools, in places like America, and then it can cause us to have some fear around going to school. Social media is responsible for a lot of things now, and it needs to be a responsible platform. But again, people will share all sorts of information on there. People absorb it, and sometimes that information isn't even true or real to life. It's not real. People can create all sorts of things. A lot of the videos that you see on social media are absolute concocted from fantasy. They're not real. They're put on there to get attention. There's all sorts of crazy stuff on social media, so you have to take a very sensible view on it. Challenging situations in life, that can be, again, so varied, but those situations, again, can impact that belief system and the way people act towards us, what people say to us. Oh, you're ugly, or you're boring, or you've got no friends, or people don't like you. Whatever people say to us, particularly again at a young age, we can absorb that information and believe it as the truth, even though it is not the truth. And I think that's the thing. There's a lot of things in our belief system which have not got the perspective that they need to have, and also they are not the truth. They might be somebody else's point of view or perspective based on their life events and their experiences, but they're not necessarily the truth. So what were you told? If you're told that you're useless, perhaps maybe you were doing some washing up and you dropped a glass and you broke the glass, and mum said, oh, you're useless. And you had no other opportunity in that very short space of time to look at that as a statement that was just said in the heat of the moment. It wasn't based on you as a person, it was just a little comment. But if you weren't able to look at that for what it was, you absorbed that, and your belief is, I am useless. Or maybe your mum or dad or someone said, your brother is so clever. And your belief system takes that as, I'm thick. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're thick. It might just mean your brother's so clever and so are you. But what came into your belief system was, I'm thick, because the and so are you was never said. Maybe someone said something about the way you look, and then you automatically go, well, I'm ugly. But they might have not meant it in that way. They might have thought your pixie ears were cute, or your funny shaped nose was cute. But you just take it as, I'm ugly. Or maybe it's just a nasty comment from a nasty little person. And again, rather than thinking that, oh, well, I'm not going to listen to that because that person's not being very nice, you took it and you believed it. And this is what happens at a very young age. We're very impressionable. So if we want to change unwanted behaviour, and that unwanted behaviour in this case is anxiety, and the response, again, that is the anxiety, is to change that belief system. So, for instance, we go from I'm not good enough to I'm awesome, and I'm not safe to I'm safe, or I know I can get out of this situation. The biggest thing I always feel about anxiety is that a lot of sufferers don't recognise that it's amazing what human beings can deal with, that you will deal with situations, if they ever are, worst case scenarios, which rarely happens, and also how we are incredibly just so capable, and that really, in effect, most of those situations that we dread won't happen, and certainly won't happen in the way that you think they will. So we're far more capable than we ever thought we were. So what are the life events that have happened to you that have impacted your belief system? And when you look at them now, they might be quite insignificant, even laughable. But they weren't at the time, and that is the most important thing. When you fell off stage at school, when you wet your pants in the hall at school, you look at those now and just go, it was just a child wetting their pants. Occasionally it happens for various reasons. But at the time it was horrendous. Everybody looked at you, everybody laughed at you. And that something like that can cause anxiety. Or maybe it was something like a crash of some sort, or a health issue, or some family situation. So just play with it. Have a think about some of those events that happened to you and what you might have believed at the time. Maybe things around your own belief system. What are those recurring themes? Are you always saying, I'm not good enough? Are you always sorry for things? Are you always fearful that something bad will happen? Are you always trying to please other people? What was all of that about? Why do you have those beliefs? And again, this links with our belief system, because when we're in shock or confused, because some of those events just left us in a state of confusion, which is very similar to shock, it closes down our perception of an event. So we see it in a different way. We don't see the truth of that event. We just see it in a very narrow bandwidth. And that stops us seeing the reality in the bigger picture. And that's why we form these beliefs very often. You didn't have access to all of the wisdom, the knowledge, and the resources that you really do have available to you, and that we can use, particularly when you are in a more relaxed and balanced state. And the good news is that later in life, you can go back using the subconscious mind and adjust those memories. And by doing so, that changes your belief system. Now, I've carried out this method with loads of my clients, whether it's for anxiety or weight issues or many other issues. And it can be a huge part of what helps to create that positive change, especially if there are one or two major memories. But those memories don't have to be massively serious in some ways, but very relevant, and that's the point. And this is powerful and really helps you to create those positive beliefs, putting to bed the negativity. So the truth of the matter is, you are capable. You might not believe that. I can tell you 20 times now and you still won't believe it. But the truth is that you are capable. You can do it. If it's been done, if you're physically or mentally capable of doing it, you can do it. You can do much more than you probably believe you can. Most of us can. It might need time, it might need dedication, it might need to mean that you need to learn something, but you can do it. Sometimes we convince ourselves we don't have choices in life because maybe we're fearful of one of those choices, because perhaps we don't want to upset somebody, or we don't want to do something that's a bit scary. Maybe changing jobs a bit scary, or maybe saying no to somebody is a bit frightening. But you have choices. So remember that you have those choices. You've got to decide what you do with those choices. And you can change things. I've seen it with people, so I know that is the fact. You can change things. And really importantly, you are far more brilliant than you know. We probably all are. There's few of us that really believe in ourselves as much as we should. And I may be guilty of that myself in certain situations. So remember that. You are far more brilliant than you know you are. So changing this belief system is done really well through working mostly with the subconscious mind and or your energy system. Now I use things like hypnotherapy, and there's an awful lot of myths and misconceptions about hypnotherapy. It's a very nice way to work. It relaxes your conscious mind, and that allows us to access those memories and to create positive change. Emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping. I'm not going to go into great detail here on any of these, but I will possibly cover emotional freedom technique in a later video. But by tapping on these meridian points, you release the emotion. Anxiety is an emotion. And again, we use that looking at previous events. Now, matrix re-imprinting is actually, if you add the emotional freedom technique to hypnotherapy, matrix re-imprinting is very, very similar to those two because it uses tapping, i.e. emotional freedom technique, and it accesses memories. And by releasing the emotion on those memories, looking at what the belief was that was formed, we create a new positive memory and we start to dampen down that negative belief. And I have seen it where there can be one memory sometimes, and by working on that memory, the change in somebody can be phenomenal. And that's why I'm such a big fan of working with the subconscious mind. I always say the subconscious mind is pliable, it's changeable, and it can be so much more positive and work more for you than against you. I always feel it's trying to do its best for you based on the information contained in there. So these are techniques and therapies that I use. I know they work so well with so many people. What might be some of those beliefs you might be holding? So just jotted a few around here. I'm not capable. I'm helpless. I'm not good enough. People let you down. I'm hopeless. I'm insignificant. I must be in control. Another quite common one for anxiety. I don't fit in, so that may be that you have issues around social confidence. People must think well of me. Again, people pleaser very often. I want people to think well of me, so if I do what they want me to do, then they'll be happy with me and it won't upset the apple cart. This might be linked to little comments people made as a young child, or maybe you were always trying to please people as a young child. I'm flawed. Well, we can all think we're flawed in some way, but also we're also quite amazing creatures. And very, as I said earlier, very sort of common anxiety one is something bad will happen. These are quite common anxiety beliefs, really. Again, not everyone's going to have all of these, but just to throw a few in there to give you an idea, really. Our belief system is quite vast. What is that big belief that is holding you back? Some practitioners now believe that a lot of us are functioning, or if not all of us, are functioning from one key big belief. But in terms of anxiety, what is that big belief that's holding you back? Maybe watching this video has given you some sort of insight into that subconscious mind of yours and what you might be believing, maybe about yourself or life, that's holding you back. If you'd like to know more, there's a lot more information in my book, The Energy of Anxiety. It does explain about beliefs, goes into other detail about beliefs, along with much more information and help. Lots of exercises in there and perspectives. Some of the things you know, but you need to be told. And sometimes you just need permission from someone else to make those decisions. It's amazing what someone else telling you to do can do for you. Here's just a few reviews on my book. I've had some really lovely comments on it, which is really great. I'm really chuffed with the response I've had. And yes, it's available on Amazon. So thanks for watching. Don't forget there will be other videos coming up. Keep following. Please hit that subscribe button. I'm really pleased that you came to watch this video. I'm looking forward to sharing more information. I'm so passionate about helping anxiety sufferers. I love what I do, and I'm really happy to be sharing this.